At that time, it seemed to me that learning and development was characterized, certainly in the minds of CEOs, by a kind of knowing doing gap. I would interview them and they'd tell me, oh, it's very important, learning's a cornerstone of our organization. But at that time, when money was tight, they weren't really investing in learning. And this always seemed to me to be counterintuitive. Surely, the time that we neglect it during, a recession or a pandemic is precisely the time when we should be investing in it. It's not a bonus for when the times are good. It's really the engine that's going to drive innovation. And there's a further phenomenon which we've seen in the 10 years since I've been writing about this stuff, which is that we've now got millennials coming into the labour market, and they're very different.
Let's think about millennials. What do millennials want? They want a place where they can be better today than they were yesterday through learning. They're such inquisitive, and a lot of people think it's free food, and a shuffleboard in the canteen. No. We've got young folks here who are just loving to learn. One of the things that's great about our company being global, we can not only give them local learning, cross-functional learning. Just last week, David, we had 40 people, 40 of our marketers from all around the world here in San Diego at our global annual marketing summit. I sit in the back there and get goosebumps because purpose-driven, passionate people guided by their values with a hunger for learning create amazing outcomes.
So I think it's even more critical now that organisations invest in learning. And John Hagel, a consultant, has talked about this shift that we see now from what he calls scalable efficiency. Can we make stuff better, cheaper, faster? To scalable learning, which is can we adapt and can we ensure that everybody in the organisation is learning and getting access to the kinds of knowledge that they're going to need? Because one of the things that we've seen during the pandemic is that organisations have had to reinvent themselves overnight. They've had to turn on a sixpence.
I took over as CEO. It was a great organisation. However, we needed to change. We had silos of information, and the more I knew and the less I shared, the more power I had. So I described it as turning silos of knowledge into fields of learning. And the first thing we had to do was give people a comfort zone that it was okay to admit that something didn't go quite right and to just have that freedom of sharing. That's where the learning moment came in. And in fact, it took a little while to get people comfortable with the fact that not knowing was not a platform for punishment, it was a platform for enrichment. So it took about a year and a half or 2 years, and I ran a couple of internal programs to really make heroes of people who are brave enough to be vulnerable and step out there. And once we got that into place, this learning started to happen. We changed the vocabulary. We don't use the word failure, we use the word learning moment. We